Hello, I'd like to start by quickly discussing some of the frequently asked questions that have been brought to my attention both before and after the DICE training, before we look ahead at the actual forms you will be completing and submitting. I have emailed these to you earlier this week and have also included them in the folder that was sent to you. Let's take a look at those briefly. You will find this information and the forms in the zipped folder I named DICE Forms. You can obviously rename this to whatever makes sense to you. I will not go through all of these questions in detail since you can read through them, but I want to cover the most common questions that have come up. Starting with the first one, I am interested in participating in DICE, but I do not think I can implement it with 5 caregivers per year. Can I do less than that? Yes. You can do DICE with as few or as many caregivers as you find feasible to your schedule. Although the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute's goal is to have each dementia care professional trained in DICE to implement it with 5 caregivers per year of the grant, we will certainly accept less than that if it's more realistic for you. Additionally, if you start implementing DICE right after you view this training video, this does not mean that you need to try to reach 5 caregivers by the end of this year. We encourage you to start with 1 or 2 and build up from there. Again, do as few or as many as is realistic to your situation. Next, we will go down to the third point here. I work with caregivers who have too much stress and other obligations to deal with. They are not going to respond well to a new quote-unquote program being introduced to them. And my answer to that is, this is completely understandable and valid. As we know, caregivers are often targeted to try new programs and services, which can be a lot of pressure. Also, depending on their experience in other programs, it could have been a positive or negative experience. I suggest avoiding the words program or service. I prefer using the words technique or tool or method, since this gives the feel of something that they can have ownership of or carry with them. But feel free to use whatever terminology that you feel the caregiver would be most receptive to. Additionally, it helps to clarify that in contrast to other programs, the DICE technique or tool or method is different in that 1, it does not involve a formal lengthy assessment process to enroll. There is no intake, no social history, no medical history that we are gathering. 2, DICE can be done in the home. So the caregiver does not have to leave their home. They can work with you on DICE either in place or over the phone, and they don't have to worry about finding respite care for their loved one. 3rd, DICE has no time commitment. There is not a set number of hours or visits that have to be met to receive this benefit. Also, DICE can be used at a pace that works for you and the caregiver. So if you're working with a caregiver who has a simple concern or a situation that's not too complex, using the DICE method may help resolve it in a matter of weeks or within a month, whereas with other cases, you may be having more ongoing contact to work with the caregiver and use DICE to resolve the issue. Additionally, it's really important to discuss the benefits of the DICE method with the caregiver, and those include the goal of keeping their loved one at home, hopefully reducing the use of emergency medical services, reducing the use of unnecessary medications, and hopefully decreasing stress and burden. So again, you know the caregivers better than anybody. It is okay to refer to this program as a project or a technique or a tool that you're using. So next I want to go down to question number 4. I don't work with clients or caregivers who are facing severe, challenging behaviors, so I don't think DICE would be useful for me to use. And I want to clarify that DICE does not have to be used with more complex cases, and in actuality is best to be used, at least initially, with more simple, non-complex cases. Think about starting small as we are piloting this project. We encourage you not to take on challenging cases right away, but rather get your feet wet with the more easy cases. Also, the goal here is for the caregiver to start thinking about these steps proactively before a situation escalates into a crisis. Also, by starting with a more simple case may help the caregiver feel that it is successful and they'll get a reward from it quicker than if you're starting with a complex case with many issues going on, as those can be more difficult to sort through for the first time and can become overwhelming to the caregiver. And lastly, I want to go down to question number 7. What is involved with the evaluations for the caregivers? These will be done at baseline in 6 months. I will show you the evaluation and how to complete it shortly in another video segment. These evaluations can be done in person, or they can be done via mail, or both. It is up to you, and we are leaving it up to your professional discretion to decide if you want to do the evaluation with the caregivers or have us mail it to them. Some of you have said that you prefer to do the evaluations in person with the caregiver since you are already in the home and you have a good rapport with them. However, others have said that you may not be involved at the 6-month mark to do the follow-up survey, and that is okay. If you are not involved with them at the 6-month mark, and it would be better for us to email the evaluations, we only need a release of information and for you to let us know that we can mail them. So again, here I only covered the most common questions that have been mentioned to me, but please read through the others on this list. Also, if you have additional questions, please contact me and I can answer those for you and provide the answers in a follow-up to this training. Okay, you are ready to move on to video number 3 on the evaluations.